Good afternoon, watchers and owners of this second win streak of the season for St. Louis City SC. Today is Sunday, and if you're listening to this on Monday, any other day of the week, we are recapping myself, Jake, and Justin on ball watching here the win last night for St. Louis City over Vancouver Whitecaps in a 3-1 victory. Justin is joining from overseas. Justin, are you on business? Is this personal? What's going on?
This is all personal.
Okay.
I will not give ages, but my mom and my sister just had birthdays, or my mom has a
Look at
birthday
you.
on Thursday.
Look at
So
you.
we're over here for a trip, and I am just a tag along.
Look at this, Justin. So model son, model brother, and you are joining on time with a 7-hour time difference on this one.
I've been trying to figure out the time still. Like, I had to change my phone to like Army time because I get so confused. So I'm like,
Oh,
what time? Like, people are like, oh yeah, happy hours from like 1800 to 2000. And I'm like,
did you watch last night? You watched the full game last night? Holy cow! What
stayed
time
up.
was that?
Kickoff at 2:30 a.m.
Oh, ooh.
And then it finished at 4:30 or 5. I was FaceTiming Ben Yeager, and then after the game, and then walked outside, and the sun was up.
Oh
It's
my God, man! The
light over here so
dedication.
long.
Dedication. Kudos to Justin. If you guys respect the grind, throw us a like right here. I mean, that guy is devoted to the craft, staying up overnight, basically forfeiting an entire evening to watch the game. But it was a good one, Justin. We enjoyed the result. Obviously, it was fruits of our labor. And let's get into one-word summaries for today. I'll start. Give you a little bit of extra time here. So my one word isn't fancy, isn't anything crazy, but I wanted to say my one word is managed for this one. I think last night was an installment in game management for St. Louis City. I think we got on the board early, which is always going to help your team, but it's not like we just played them out of City Park. I think we were able to manage the ebbs and the flows of the game, not lose our heads. There's definitely some discipline stuff out there for sure that we'll get to, but I think overall we kind of just managed the game after that goal, got the goal in whatever fashion right before halftime as well to put enough distance between us, and then we were able to put the final one at the very end just to solidify it. So I think it was well managed. I think Carnell had a good lineup to roll out, and I think that management isn't very sexy as a term, but it's something that means a lot in this game, is be able to have control, not necessarily dominate, but have control of where the game's going.
I like that. I like managed. I don't have a really good word either because I literally just got back to the hotel. But I just Googled some synonyms for the word fun. I thought the game was amusing, in my opinion. Got back pretty late and stayed up for it, obviously, and then had to kind of bounce around and try to figure out like firewalls and everything around here. But I thought it was amusing. I think the guys played pretty well. I will get into the details of it all, but I really don't think we deserved any of our goals. So I was happy that we came out with a 3-1 dub. But yeah, amusing. I'm having a good time.
All right. Well, let's get into it. We already have a couple questions, and I'm trying to see if we're going to get. I think we'll get to these as we get into the highlights and in the ratings. So everyone put in the questions, and feel free to drop questions, and we'll definitely get to these before we end the episode today. But let's jump into some highlights, Justin. So I think off the drop for this game, it was exciting to see us get on the front foot. And you saw that within, I think, 5 or 6 minutes of the game where Gioacchini had that incredible chance that was created by Celio on the press, and then Indy slotting him in. I feel like Indy is just kind of pulling the strings of the attack at this point, but Gioacchini just scuffed it. I mean, it was a great opportunity. I think we score that goal, you're probably not saying that we didn't deserve that, because that was a well-worked couple passes and definitely deserved better than what it got. And in the 10th minute, we got a breakthrough. And that was courtesy of what? Maybe like a 40-yard-ish free kick from Leuven, who I'm not saying he was shooting, but the fact that anyone can hit a ball that sweet with that kind of curl on it, with that kind of pace, and put it where he put it, despite maybe not having meant to have done that, I think that takes a load of talent, and kudos to him for just serving in an incredible ball for either someone to get ahead to or for the goalie just to suffer on, because I think he probably should have done better on that one.
Jake, I'll call that right now. He was not shooting. That was just a ball that kept floating. It reminded me of like what I used to do when I was like 8, and just like kick a ball, put it on net, and you're 40 yards out, and it'll float over the goalie. Also, speaking of which, was their goalkeeper? I think you might have told me it was like the third string guy.
It was his first game in net for them this season, I think, starting. So
I'm gonna go ahead and say his last as well.
Yeah,
quick stint.
He was their number one last year, and then he got overtaken by they transferred in I forget his name, but he's Japanese, and he's been their starter so far this season. But a rough entry, rough first start for the season for him, because I think you probably could fault him. Yeah, probably on all. The second one's tough. Second one's tough for him.
Not him.
You can fault the defense on all three of those goals for sure, and take a look inward. Otherwise, let's look a little bit defensively. I also thought defensively, especially in the first like 3 quarters of the game, I really thought that Bartlett and Parker played well. Specifically, Bartlett. Actually, I was really impressed with him. I think he was super strong on the ball and in his tackles. He bodied Simon Betcher a lot, which was great. And not that Simon's a huge guy, but to just put him off enough, because he has shown to be a great striker so far in his 86 minutes coming into this game with 4 goals to his name already, being the fastest to ever do that. So I was very, very happy with Bartlett's performance in the first half, especially.
I thought Bartlett played incredible. And also just reverting everybody back to Simon SLU grad. He has like 350 minutes coming in now, Jake. He's played 9 games. He started that game last night, which I love to see, especially in St. Louis, which I thought Simon had an okay game. There was one where he had a one-on-one with Berkey, and he tried to dribble him. Never tried to dribble Roman Berkey. He will lose that 10 times out of 10. But Bartlett also in the 16th minute had an incredible slide, just laying out for it and saving Roman, which we need. Not that Roman couldn't save it himself, but just to make this guy not have to have so many big saves for us. And I thought that was huge.
I agree. He only had 1 save on the night. But I think another game where you'd say he managed it. He was great with crosses. He was being able to own those. He had good distribution. I have a note here from him just pinging a 40-yard ball on the foot to someone in the first half, which is something that he has in his locker and he's done multiple times this season and can do repeatedly. But we broke in again in the second half. So I think after the first kind of 10 minutes, it was pretty crazy back and forth. Then I think Vancouver kind of found their feet, and I think it kind of settled into a little more back and forth, but slowly more even game. And then in the 40, I think 5th plus minute, we are basically kind of just seeing out halftime, and Leuven plays a very, very speculative lofted through ball, I think, into Gioacchini, who's making the run in behind. It's not going to connect with him, but it draws enough defenders and enough goalkeeper attention where everyone's running the same direction. And I think Blackman is the unfortunate character in this one, where I think he goes to maybe head it away or head it back to his goalie where he thinks he'll be, but heads it straight into his own net. So a very, very fortunate bounce for us, but one where you got to put yourself in dangerous positions, make mistakes. So I wouldn't say it's one of those where you think it's a great team goal and it's earned necessarily, but you create your own luck. And it was a good try, and putting us 2-0 up at half with a goal at the death right there is demoralizing for Vancouver.
And that's just demoralizing, but it cast your bet on literally the last minute of the over 1.5 plus 155.
It did.
On that. That was huge. And it cast my bet in the first half too. I love to see it. But I will say the one thing before we get into the second half is I did really appreciate with Celio. We had a high press in this game, and it really showed. It was one of those games, just like we talked about in Kansas City. We don't need to have possession. That was one of those games where we just kind of just took it to them, and we created our own chances, created our own luck. I think that's kind of a way to describe us right now, is we're creating our own luck.
I would agree. Other last kind of first half notes is I really think Vancouver was pretty limited to long balls, to counterattacks. We kind of knew that coming in, and really set pieces where we'll talk more about there in the lowlights. Leuven was just conducting the team like you see an orchestra, the guy with the little, whatever they call it, the wand or the stick. I mean, the guy's just laying in that deeper position for him. I've advocated for it time and time again. He is so much more impactful when he can play on both sides of the ball, where he's almost sandwiched in between a Terminator in Blum and a creator in Vasilev, and he can do a little bit of both at great quality. So I loved his positioning last night. And we limited Vancouver pretty significantly in actual meaningful XG. When you talk about this match, I think they had 0.1 XG in the first half. So I was proud of our first half performance. Second half, a little bit of a downturn, and I think Vancouver was really knocking on the door there. But there were some good individual moments. I still think we applied some pressure here. We tested the goalie. I know on another free kick, Justin, you made a note here of a 35-yard strike that Leuven had on a set piece where the goalie kind of spilled it and it fell onto Stroud, who just kissed it off the far post. And Nico probably could have even had a touch on it to guide it in there, but that was some big foreshadowing.
I agree. And it's one of those chances where it's even on our goal where Leuven had the shot, bad parry, should have held onto it by the keeper. I'm okay with just put him on net, especially with Leuven shot or Indy for that case, and just put him on net and see what they can do. If they can't defend it, then we'll be fine either way. But I was happy to see that. I think the guys really stepped up. And also in the 63rd, we had a little curler by Stroud, and then also in the 63rd, got to see a little Gianni for Nerwinski, which I was happy to see. And maybe touching on a quick little light real quick, I think it was let me pull it up real quick. The 20th and the 22nd, a Nerwinski yellow and a Parker yellow. We can't do that in these games.
The nature of it too.
Not just the nature of it, but then you're playing with two guys. They got to go another 70 minutes without getting another yellow. Otherwise, we're down a guy. And we've seen it with Johnny. Some of those tackles you have to make last ditch to make sure that you don't put Roman out to dry. And so with those two guys, that's our whole right side. If they could have, if I was Vancouver, I would have pressed everything down that side and make those guys pick up another yellow. But sorry, didn't mean to get in the lowlights.
No, you're good. You mentioned that, Justin, already, and we had a question come in from John on this around do we rate Hebert as a left back now? I mean, Hebert played 3 different positions last night. He played left back to start, and then when Johnny came on, he switched to right back. And then I think when Bell came on, he switched to left center back of a back 5. So he played in 3 different positions last night, and it's great to see his versatility. I don't know where you would say his best position is yet, but the fact that he can do all of that, they must have been training him at least a little bit as a right back before. Because Justin, you've already mentioned that you'd like to see him slot into that potentially when Nilsson comes back. So it'd be him on the right, and then it would be Parker and Nilsson, and then Nelson on the left, I think was your ideal back 4.
Yeah, I still think that Johnny is the ideal left back. I know Kyle has been playing well. I agree with that. But I still think, and nothing, I think Nerwinski still played well. I just think as far as talent level goes, my preferred back 4 would be Johnny on the left, Nielsen and Parker in the middle with Hebert on the right. So, yeah. I mean, do we have a timetable? Also, they kept saying like mid-May. We are now May 28th.
We're now past
we have
May.
Not heard anything out of Nielsen.
I wouldn't expect to see him until at least like mid-June. But the fact is that with all these injuries that are mounting with Alm, Klaus, and Nilsson, if we were treading water and still on this 4 game skid of no wins and that tough run of form we had in April, there's no rush, man. I mean, I want to get them back and I want to see them absolutely, but I do want to be very conservative because we have that luxury right now. But I am excited to see them when they do return. Otherwise, Justin, it was a night to remember for Miggy Perez, who graduated high school on Thursday and scored his first ever MLS goal last night in good fashion. It was a free kick, like we said. Leuven had taken it, hit a good one. It bounced right before getting to the goalie, so he had a tough time parrying that away or holding on to it. And Ostrak, kudos to him being lively and running towards the ball and following that up, because he was able to beat the goalkeeper to the rebound and then cross it, square it up for Miggy Perez, who just pounded it in the back of the net. And you could see how much it meant to him. The kid was on cloud 9, and deservedly so.
Dude, his celebration, he ran left, and then he was like, I don't want to go left, I want to go right. And he held his face in his hands. I thought it was hilarious. You could see just the sheer emotion on that kid. What a week. Graduating high school, scoring your first goal. I will say, as a highlight, I guess, for us and a low light for them, you got to hold on to that. I mean, the parry was fine. It didn't go back into the middle, but like Roman Berkey holds that, he palms it, is what I would say. He doesn't even need 2 hands on things like that. But hey, great goal for Miggy. Love it.
That was some of the worst, I'd say, opposing goalkeeping that we've seen this season. I don't expect to see that very frequently.
I do want to say real quick, Jake, Kevin had a comment here. He did do an interview with MLS 360 last night too, which is awesome. If you didn't see it, go check that out. Is it my Wi-Fi or yours? Well, we're going to keep rolling. And get a little bit into the low lights. I would say, I can't tell if Jake is frozen on me or not. I would say one thing that I noticed, especially on Hebert being on the left, is that he needs to be a little bit tighter one-on-one. And sorry, I'm looking at notes from my phone. There was a little bit of a 1v1 in the 16th minute, and he did not do very well, just taking the guy one-on-one. So I would like to see a little bit more out of Hebert there. And then also 19th minute, we already talked about it, him and Parker with the yellows early on. I'm not a huge fan of that. And I have a note here. I believe Parker is suspended for the next game, which is unfortunate, and Stroud. So not great for us as we're going into the game against Houston next weekend. And then in the 30th minute, Parker had an awful pass straight to Vancouver. It was literally just a ball straight from Roman to him, and I don't know if he was just sleeping on it or what. But had to do an additional pass, and they just went right at us after that. So I was not a huge fan of that from him. On the 38th, Blum had a giveaway and a quick counter that ended in a corner for them. Obviously not a goal, but it's just something that we needed to keep a little bit tighter with Blum. And then also with Blum and Nerwinski, I think it was Nerwinski that was actually just a little bit behind the rest of our line. Nothing awful, but holding guys on that ends up leading to another corner for them, which is just not something that we can continue to do, especially with a team like that. So was not a huge fan of that. Sorry, I'm trying to switch this over real quick. Ooh. And then getting into the second half, had Simon Betcher. I think Jake already had as a highlight over here that Simon came off in the 57th. A highlight as a City fan. Simon played a great game and had a lot of chances that he honestly could have finished. I already said that he tried to dribble Roman, and something you just cannot do. He tried to do a little rollover and go around him on that. So happy to see him come off. Personally, as a City fan, happy to see that he started as a Slough grad. But in the 54th minute before he came off, he did have a ball over the top where Bartlett held him on. So you got it, like, it's the same thing. I think we need a little bit more chemistry out of these guys. I know we've been moving the back line around quite a bit, but those guys need to be on the exact same line to make sure that we're not holding these guys on, giving them chances. Just missed it wide. And then Parker kind of laid into Lucas Bartlett on that. Shout out to them as well. I don't know what time it is. I guess it is 12:30 there. Those guys are doing Jake, what time is it in St. Louis right now?
It's time for me to get a new power supplier because I lost power entirely in the house again. This is unbelievable, man. Like I finally fixed the Wi-Fi situation. Like I brought the router up to like my main level to get better signal. And it's not the Wi-Fi. Like it's not the Wi-Fi. I literally lose power in the house every single time we're doing this recently.
Dude, lost him again. This guy just can't even. Maybe we'll just cut him. But overall, I was going to say, as I was touching on that, Parker and Bartlett are bartending at the pitch, and I believe that is at like 4:00. So probably like another 2 hours from now. Get there if you can't already. 12:57. Thank you, Tyler. I think they're there, so maybe 3 or 4 hours. Get to the pitch and go see those guys. I think it's going to be awesome. Would not be surprised if the majority of the team is there as well, just to be able to hang out and get some drinks with the guys on their off day. So get to the pitch tonight. Quick plug. Also, this podcast is brought to you by Budweiser, the Czech version, which is kind of cool. And also Series 6, as we touch on, 15% off using the code BALLWATCHING. Get into that. Otherwise, I don't think we really had that many more lowlights. I will say Stroud did get his yellow, as I mentioned earlier, one of the weakest ones that he's had. And just in the fact that, like, why are you even kicking the ball after the play after you're on 4 yellows? I will say, yes, we're going to the Houston game, which we don't really need him for. But it's just something that is just petty, in my opinion. And we knew that it was coming. I mean, Stroud is one of those guys that we love to have him on our team, and you'd hate to play against him kind of thing. But it's just annoying that we're going to have to leave him. So I would say after that, otherwise, we don't really have much else as far as lowlights there. So I was pretty happy with the team throughout the game. Like I said, just kind of in general, I don't think that we deserved any of our goals. And you look at the first goal, obviously 100% across as I was maybe 45 yards out. Balls kept floating on a keeper that just kind of came on for the first time to start for the team. And then we look at the own goal, not on the keeper. Great ball by Leuven just to try to get the guys in. So I appreciate that. And then on the Miggy goal, like I said, I think that Roman Berkey absolutely just holds on to that, probably even palms it and keeps it with one hand. So I do really appreciate that from the guys. And I'll wait for Jake before we get back into player ratings and all of that. But one thing that I will easily mention for us is the predictions and the bets. So I don't remember exactly what our predictions were. I know for a fact that our bets hit in the first half, and I was extremely happy for that, considering it was 3:15 a.m. over here and watching the game and keeping up with those guys. But I would not miss this game for anything. So I was really happy to see that with the boys. And I believe both of us predicted a dub as well. And there's Jake. He's back.
All right, this is getting really old. Did you get to the lowlights, Justin?
Yeah, I went through the lowlights. I was just catching them up on predictions and bets because I was going to hold off for you for player ratings.
Yeah, so predictions and bets. Yeah, you definitely were close. I mean, no, you hit 3-1. You hit 3-1.
Yep.
I think that was what you said going into this. Oh no, you might have said 2-0 on yours.
That's what I was trying to find. I
you
only
did 3-1 last week. I did 2-2 draw, so I was also getting there. But
loser.
Yeah, we both cashed our bets, which was fantastic to see. I do want to say, Justin, before we go on really quick, this is going around. This is doing the social media round because it deservedly should. But did you talk about the coach for Vancouver last night?
Not yet. I was waiting for you for that as well.
Oh, brutal. So Vanni Sartini is their coach. First of all, funny name. Second, this guy had some comments after the game, and he went in on the referees. If I had to sum up all of the quotes and what his article was in his post-game press conference, I would just say, wah. Because he was the biggest crybaby, blamed the entire game on the referees. And you know what? I can see where he's coming from on some of this stuff. Absolutely. But just to put it all down to referees, this is some of the quotes I pulled from it. He said, it's hard to win when the other team has 12 men. So that's my initial thought. We didn't have any fouls. Every foul was for them. Every half and half. It was always two different measurements, never the same. Jake Nerwinski should have been sent off. So literally name drop Jake should have been sent off. And you know what? I agree on that, but don't do that. And the first free kick wasn't a free kick. At the end, it should have been a free kick for us, and then they scored their third goal. What a whiny baby, dude. I mean, let me just finish, and I want to hear your reactions because to me, he will and should get slapped with a big fine for that. Because that's not of good professional conduct for a coach who's this job. He will get fined for that, and deservedly so, because the fact that he's going to blame this entire performance on referees is ridiculous to me. His team did not finish their chances. That's just plain fact. And yes, they did not have the best of fortune with the referee officiating. So you can take that with what you will. But would we be complaining like that? I'd be a little bit disappointed in Carnell if he just trashed the referee after the game. I wouldn't want to hear that.
No, you can never do that, I would say. And that was one thing. And yeah, I was watching late at night, but I really didn't think. And yeah, and maybe it's a little bit more apparent if it's not your team, but I didn't think the ref was that involved. And I don't know. I think we had a couple of games early in the season where we thought it was way worse. No one mentions it, but saying that the game should have been canceled, I think that guy has less maturity than your 1-month-old son will. That's
agree.
how I'm going to wrap that up.
I would agree. And last low light was people at the game last night. There was a fire outside, I think like northwest of the stadium, in an abandoned warehouse in St. Louis near North 7th and O'Fallon Streets. And Justin, there was huge plumes of black smoke rising from the area near the stadium. It was crazy. No one was hurt. And for people that were there, no one knew what was going on. So I just want to follow up here. No one was hurt. There was no like crazy damage. It was an abandoned warehouse. I mean, obviously the warehouse is damaged, but I think there were just some debris that spewed out. But otherwise, the fire department handled everything. I almost thought it was a goal celebration gone too far for 1 second there. But yeah, it was crazy. It was a big fire.
It was one of the accounts that we followed, and I apologize, I'm not going to give them credit. One of the guys is like, does anybody know what's going on over there? Like, it was absurd.
Yeah, it was very big. It was a big fire.
Yeah.
It was a 3-alarm fire.
Jesus Christ.
Yeah, I know. So crazy. We all pulled through. I think it was just kind of if someone was hurt, I wouldn't say this, but I think it was just a way to describe how we're feeling right now as a team. Just ready to go, on fire, man. Just rolling through teams right now, and decent teams at that. I think 5 of our 8 wins have come against playoff bound opponents as of right now. So people taking that away from us, get out of here.
I hate that you just try to connect that to the actual game. I thought you were just be like, meth lab gone wrong. But sure.
Let's talk about the boys last night. Get those report cards out and let's give some grades. Berkey, like I said, 1 save, and I'm very, very happy about that for him. He doesn't need to get trashed every night with shots, and he keeps them out for sure. But I'm glad that he was not as tested last night. But what he did have, he managed. I would say he couldn't do anything on the goal. I would probably give him a B+. He wasn't called on that much, so I would go with a B+ for Berkey. Backline.
I was going to say before we get to the backline, I had a note on Berkey. I think in the 40th minute, he just had a quick 1-touch 40-yard ball, just pass, just on a dot. So this guy, even though he doesn't need to be called on for saves, and I'm happy that he's not, that means our defense is stepping up and they're good enough to do that. But this guy can still just distribute like no other. So
Yeah, you can.
I would give Roman an A.
Okay, that's fine. I can get behind that. Back line, I think Bartlett and Parker, especially Bartlett, were my two favorites for their performances last night. I think Hebert played fine. I thought Nerwinski played fine. Some discipline stuff. You don't want to see some of these dumb fouls. And he did have the revenge factor going for him last night. Obviously, Vancouver let him come here. Obviously, we traded for him. Wasn't for free. But he did have some time spent with Vancouver and probably wanted to leave a couple on some of his old teammates. So a little bit of cushion for that. But otherwise, got to play smarter from him. So I would drop him down to maybe a C. Everyone else, I'd probably give Bartlett an A for me. He got a little tired at the end, so it wasn't a complete performance, but it was a pretty strong game from him. Otherwise, I'd give everyone else a B+.
I would give them, I'd give them all B+. I would say Bartlett probably an A-. The only reason that I'm going to drop it to an A- is the fact that there was a couple when your power went out, Jake, that I think the line needs to be a little tighter, and leaving guys on side. And the fact that if they need to talk a little more, and it's going to come with chemistry. I mean, I feel like we switched up our back line just about every game now, especially with Johnny getting the red, with the red card suspension. But moving all these guys around, it'll come. But I would say Bartlett, probably is the better one of the four. And the thing that really ticks me off, Jake, I'm pretty sure, and I mentioned it while you were out, I'm pretty sure that Tim Parker is out next game now. Yeah.
Is he? Because he served his suspension, and when he gets his 6th yellow card, does that mean he goes back out?
Oh, it was his 6th?
Well, I thought it was his 6th because he just served a suspension. Has he gotten any other yellow card between now and then? We'll have to look back at it. We'll follow up with an answer.
The rules are if you get 5, you set a game, then it's every 3 after that. So if it was a 6, we're good.
I don't think he's at 8 yet. So I think we're.
Well, I know for a fact that Stroud's out. So
yeah, Stroud is for sure out. That is confirmed.
And I mentioned that while you were out as well.
Ridiculous,
the dumbest yellow, and not dumb on the ref, dumb on Stroud.
No, I agree.
Dude. Just don't do that.
Use that to take someone down. That's going to go make you hurt.
Get your money's worth.
Right.
You kicked a ball. Congrats. Did he even go in? You were there. They didn't pan over. It was oh, awesome, nice chip.
Seeing some comments here on the Bartlett thing too. Yeah, I think he definitely. I would put him and Parker both at fault on the goal just for mismarking White, who we know is a good goal scorer for Vancouver. I mean, he got stuck right in the middle of both of them, which is a great instinct for him to get in a good spot like that. But one of those two has got to be body to body with him and making sure he's not getting opportunities. So I could see the knock on Bartlett for that too. But I would take both Parker and Bartlett there.
Before we move too far on, I would like for anyone in the comments, I already mentioned it as well, Jake, get to the pitch. Let me know what you rate their bartending skills. So they are bartending from 4 to 6 tonight, Bartlett and Parker.
They are.
Get to the pitch and do that because that sounds phenomenal. I already mentioned too. I bet you a bunch of the boys are there. If you just want to have some casual conversations with literally guys that are starting on the team, get to the pitch tonight.
Absolutely. Across the pitch or up the pitch a little bit further is our midfield. I'm just going to call him a triangle for now, and then you go outside to Stroud and Celio. But I thought the triangle was well formed last night. Blum had a quietly really solid performance. I think he had the most tackles or the most interceptions in the game. He was very physical, very tenacious in protecting our back four for the entirety of the game. I thought Leuven was the man of the match. Like I said, he was free to do both defense and offense. I think the way he just connects play and starts play from our back to move forward, and the way he's able to pass with the quality that he has for me, with the accuracy and the pace, he just seems to always get it right. And he was incredible last night. And then Indy, I think, faded a little bit towards the end of the game, but I still do think him in that advanced position, I'm sold, man. I love where he's at. I feel like he has such tidy footwork, too, around the box. He's composed. He's a little bit smaller than you'd like for him to be when he's in that position, but I do think he has the ability to connect passes and hold the ball and do little twinkle toes in the box and make sure we get a nice opportunity there. So I was really happy with him.
I think Indy's been incredible these last 2 games, and I think it's really coming with his confidence as well. Now that he knows that he has a solidified spot, I love seeing the amount of creativity that he has with this team and being able to whip balls in, just having a lefty like that as well. That guy, is really showing out, and I appreciate it. And it's coming at the right time. If you can get him, Blum, and Leuven all, like you said, with that trio right there, if those guys are clicking, it's gonna be hard to beat this team.
No, I agree. That's our spine. And then otherwise, Stroud and Celio, Stroud and Gioacchini. Gioacchini, I'll start with. It was a quiet night for him. A lot of time spent on the floor, and we've talked about that before. I want to see him battle, and when he's taking those hits that he's not getting calls for, like get on your feet, like get up and grind again. I think he has that attitude for some reason. I don't know if it's instruction he's getting, but he's going down a lot, and I feel like it kind of frustrates me sometimes because a lot of them are no calls. So you know that there's a lot of contact there, but it's probably fair. So that was a little bit frustrating for me last night. I saw that. Otherwise, I thought Celio, he's kind of on an island with how we play because he's on the left wing, and the left wing is very isolated. I think we channel a lot of our tech in the middle and the middle right. And with his pressing, he was able to create some chances. I think he's a little more lively this game versus last game. So I was, decently happy with his performance, but still not a lot you're seeing from him because I think that just we channeled the ball a different direction. It's not his direction most of the time. Stroud creatively was great last night. I think he has some tidy touches, some good balls, some great opportunities, some shots that you think he can actually hit. These curlers from 20, 25 yards out, he's got that in his locker. But the discipline stuff bothers me a little bit as well.
The one thing I will say, I do feel like Celia is on an island. I kind of think he likes it, dude. I don't think he's one of our and appreciate it, and I appreciate it too. That's an individual guy in a good sense. Like he takes guys on. He's not looking to whip balls in. He's looking to beat the guy and then give a pass to a wide open guy as the second defender has to come guard him. So I appreciate that. I thought he played really well. One thing that I thought was, and we'll move on real quick because we're already at 32 minutes. Jonathan Bell coming on for Nico, I thought was a little interesting. I know that we're up and you're really trying to lock it in there, but a forward for a center back to me was a little odd in that sense. What are your thoughts?
We batten the hatches. I think it's the first time I've really seen that approach. I swear we were playing like a 6-4-0 at the very end, like just guys on the whole line, across the whole back line, just bodies everywhere. And then 4 midfielders whose job it is literally just to make the balls that are about to come in either less likely and pressure those guys to make them a little bit less quality, or to try to be an outlet and run with the ball like we saw Aziel Jackson at the end, and get a foul drawn so we can relieve the pressure, kind of twist the cap open and let some air out. That's what kind of their job was. But Justin, it was park the bus for a good amount of the last part of the game for us.
Absolutely. Jake, do you want to get into where do we go from here?
Yes, where do we go from here? So new segment for you all today, and this is part of where do we go from here, is we are going to throw up a map. And, Justin and I have been kind of talking to you all about where we're going, because obviously the goal is Disney World, if that's still a thing. We're going to go ahead and say it is. And the idea is to try to get to Disney World by the end of the season and celebrate an MLS Cup. We are not there yet, and we won't be there until we win the MLS Cup. But for now, Justin is going to drop us a pin and let us know where we are on the map after each game. So, Justin, I'm going to put the map up and you guide us.
And I will say, I think that this is not like a progressive trip. We will go up and back somehow. It's not like we're not doing a family drive trip like I did when I was 12. Like we're gonna sometimes, like we were in like pretty much close to Disney World, then we were back in Memphis. Like that's where we're at. I would say right now though, Jake, I kind of like where we're at, and I mentioned this to you beforehand. I'm a big NOLA guy. I think right now we're in New Orleans. We took a little bit of a detour, so we got south. Appreciate it. We're seeing the ocean, so we're close. Also, you don't even see the ocean at Disney World, but we got south enough, and NOLA's just a good party time. And I think that's where we're at right now. I think the boys are humming, even without Klaus, and we don't have Nielsen. And I think, we're going to have some yellow card suspensions, whatever. I think these 2 games were great by the fellas. And I think we got south enough to be in a fun area. So I think we got through the Midwest. We're not in like Nashville or Memphis or anything like that. We're still cool cities, and we're definitely not stopping in like Alabama.
Okay.
So we're all the way down in NOLA.
I like that. NOLA. It's party time. We're enjoying
ourselves.
What is that?
Right what now. Does that say? Is that Bourbon Street?
Yes, Bourbon Street. Yeah.
Yeah.
You remember Bourbon. We've been on Bourbon before, Justin. I don't know how much. I don't know how much we'll get recollecting there, but
you guys want some good bourbon stories? Yeah. Ask us about it. It was a great time. Shout out Mike.
Oh my God. Well, Justin, otherwise, where do we go from here? Just some last things to leave you all with is we are now number 2 in the Western Conference. LAFC's level with us on points, but they have 1 game in hand. So who knows that they could take advantage of that or not. But number one in Western Conference is Seattle, and we have 2 games in hand on them. They only have 1 point difference above us. So it's good looking for us right now. We have the 3rd highest points per game in the MLS, and we've got 1.92 we're averaging per game, which is great. Like almost 2 points per game is incredible. What a haul. Otherwise, Justin, City Park has proved to be a fortress for us. We need to keep winning at home, grab those points at home, and then makes our away fixtures a lot less pressure filled. Like we'll take draws. We will take points away because we are a fortress at home. Otherwise, I want to see us continue to start games quick like we did last night and close games a lot more solidly than we did last night. I mentioned this last episode or last recap. We cannot be conceding those late goals in the 80-plus minute when we're only up 2. It's going to make for a nail biter, and it's not fun to watch as a fan. You want to see them just close it out, be done with it. So I want to see us continue to start well like we just did last night and finish stronger. And I think we'll be a lot more disciplined side if we're able to do that. So that's where we go from here.
Absolutely. I think that was extremely sweaty on giving up a goal in the 83rd. We cannot do things like that. I mean, yeah, tough one. But I think we're moving strong. I mean, we got Houston next. This is a 4-game home stretch if you don't count the 50 minutes that we're going to go play in Texas whenever that is 6, 7, I think.
Yeah.
But I mean, that's phenomenal, I think. And you can see it on the MLS wraparound. They keep mentioning that the coolest thing you see this week is City Park. And I think that's phenomenal. It's so true.
Yeah, it's not a secret anymore. People are coming here. They're seeing the product. They're seeing the hype. It's all real. And you all listening to this, I'm sure, are just as big as part of it. The fans are a huge, huge component of our success so far in the environment. It was electric last night. The whole family here. Will made the trip. My wife made the trip. It was very fun. He got to witness a great W. So Will's getting some wins under the belt, and he's stoked about it. And I hope you all are too. We'll catch you on Wednesday for a preview of the Houston Dynamo matchup at City Park coming up on Saturday. Until then, everyone stay safe. Have a great week. Enjoy Memorial Day weekend. And we'll talk to you on Wednesday.
All for City.
All for City.